I also like Tokyo Revengers, but I didn't say it because I hated how it ended. So
I just did not read the
we're not
ending.
gonna talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to the Girltaku Show. We're your hosts, Kika and Lo, and today we have the one and only Vegalia, the creator of By Vegalia. Vegalia, tell the people a little bit about yourself for those who may not know who you are.
Hi, I'm Vegalia. I'm a multidisciplinary artist. I love anime, I love art, I love mixing the two. I'm most known on the internet for creating curly brushes and braid brushes that can emulate real textures, specifically for Black characters, but now I have it for everyone. So everyone can be integrated in the diverse art space.
I'm sure almost everybody that's on the internet, or at least our side of the internet, has seen you or seen your work. First things first, we have to geek about Babs Tar using your braid brushes for Megan Thee Stallion's Soul Eater artwork. How did it feel seeing such an iconic comic book artist using your brushes for Megan of all people?
I know.
All people.
When I saw that, I literally woke up to that. I at the time I didn't even follow Meg Thee Stallion because I don't follow a lot of celebrities online. But it came up on my For You page, and I'm like, wait a second. And I was zooming in. I'm like, that's definitely my brushes, but who's the artist? But I looked at the comments and saw that it was Babs. And I was really shocked that she was using my stuff in the first place. Apparently, she saw it on Twitter and we're mutuals. And I DM'd her, and she was so excited. She's like, "Oh, am I in trouble? I don't. I'm like, no, you're not in trouble for
Yeah.
using them. I'm really
Yeah, no.
them. I'm really grateful that you use them." And she was so excited. She's like, yeah, you can have the time lapse. I'd love to promote your stuff on top of like promoting my stuff. I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. And she did it for free of charge. And I'm really grateful to her for like giving me not only that opportunity of connection, but also for being so kind and like letting me use it on my page too.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh my God, because I've been following Babs for like ever. Because I grew up as a comics girl. Like, my dad raised me on comic books. Like, I own so many comics with her, like, artwork and her, like, cover
Oh,
artwork and
wow.
stuff like that. Such a combination. You, Babs, Megan. That's
Hmm.
insane.
Yeah, it was really surprising to see all that come together. I was not expecting it, but I'm really like happy that Babs uses my stuff, and I hope she uses my other collections in the future. That'd be really cool, especially in like a comic kind of
Hmm.
setting.
I could see that.
And it's Megan. Megan. The anime community loves Megan.
Your work has been perceived by Megan Thee Stallion.
Even though my videos, some of them reach a lot of people, I'm still shocked when someone's like, "Oh yeah, I've definitely seen your videos before," or I use your brushes. I have Procreate. I use your brushes."
So, on the topic of Procreate and your brushes, what was your inspiration behind creating them? And can you give us a little background on how they came to be?
So the background behind my brushes is actually anime related. There's this trend that used to happen on Twitter called Blacktober. Every October, people would draw Black characters that were either original or reimagined from old characters. So I drew one inspired by Hinata, and I drew all of her tiny little micro braids because I was creating a Black version of her. And that process took me about 5 hours to draw her braids, and it was really labor intensive and my hands are cramping at the end, and I wanted to draw another character like that, but I didn't want to go through the pain of drawing each little braid since she had so many. So I went and I researched different brushes or like what I could use with digital art to make a pattern, and I found out that digital brushes were a thing and braid brushes were a thing, but I wasn't finding any that fit my style or I liked. So I developed a collection of 12 different braid brushes that today I don't even sell that pack. I completely reinvented it. But my followers were like, you need to put this online. You need to show this to the world. So I actually didn't promote it until the second week of its launch because one of my followers was like, you need to put this in people's faces. You need to shove it in their faces and show that you have these brushes. So I just said like, hey, I literally had a video that said, hey, I made Procreate brushes. They do this, this, and this. If you want them, they're on my Etsy. And that video literally has like over 1 million views in like less than a week, and it sold thousands of brushes
Oh
for
my
me, and
God.
that's when I knew that I needed to quit my job and
Wow.
pursue this as one of my income sources as an artist.
We love getting to quit your job and pursue art moment.
Literally.
Hmm.
That's a
Yeah, I
really,
mean,
really
That's such a
cool.
girl boss move.
I was a photographer before doing this, but the job that I was a part of completely killed my passion for photography. And I've always been in like the arts. So whether it was like traditional and now it's digital, I didn't have an iPad until 2020. So that was like a new venture for me. And it became really big very quickly, actually.
Yeah, you created something that fulfilled a need a lot of people have and a lot of people have been searching for. So I think that's kind of a really cool thing to have like contributed to the community.
Change maker. We love to see it.
I never thought brushes would be the way that I would go into the art community to make a change. But the community has been one of the most rewarding parts. Like I said, connecting with people like Babs or even like other artists that I really admire, like Likelihood Art or my employees like Magic by Kiki, Brie Lexus, Taylor the creator. All of them really inspire me to keep going and keep creating different products and art myself.
More about you though. You've been in your travel girly era. Do you feel like the change in environment has given you a new outlook and motivation as an artist?
When I travel, I always get inspiration. I am pretty travel heavy and I stopped because of 2020 and COVID, obviously. But I used to travel all the time and I studied abroad in London and Sweden for half a year. So whenever I go abroad, I always see a different perspective of art, of people, and that not everyone views the world the same way. And some people create art completely differently than how you perceived it. So I always like to go to a ton of museums when I'm abroad. One of my favorite ones that I visited was the Victoria and Albert Museum because they had an exhibit for Chanel and they also had an exhibit called Divas. So they highlighted all the divas in the world like Beyonce, Lady Gaga, the old ones like Celine Dion, Cher. They had all their outfits on that. So even like that was fashion, but that is inspiring me now because I'm making a fashion collection of my own brushes. And that's really cool for me to not only see something different than I'm used to seeing, but being able to implement to my own work as well. One special highlight that I did was I went to Ibiza. I actually went on a women's photo tour. So I was highly inspired by all the women there. We were creating every day. We were using our hands by making like clay pots. We were making hand dyed fabrics. And I actually didn't even get to go to like any parties. But it was so beautiful and serene there that I'll probably make a lot of backgrounds in the future for some of my characters from the places that I saw there.
I love
That's
that for
so
you.
cool.
How many countries did you say
Love
that you
that.
went to this past like
Uh, I went to, I think I said six, but maybe it was five. I went to Spain, Italy, Greece, the Netherlands, Portugal, and the UK. A lot of the places reminded me of my favorite game, Zelda, and it also inspired
yeah.
it inspired me because they take a lot of elements from a lot of different cultures and put into the game. So I want to do the same by seeing all the places that I went and taking little bits and pieces into my own work.
We can't wait to see what you do next.
It wouldn't be the Girltaku Show if we didn't ask you what you're obsessed with right now. So give us your top 5 fandoms you're really into at the moment.
Top five? That's a lot. Okay, I can do it though. If Zelda counts as one, I'm definitely in the Zelda fandom, but I'm not excited for the live action that was just announced because I can't imagine any person, unless it's a new actor, playing Zelda and Link. Maybe Hunter Schafer, but even her, I'm like, I don't want anyone playing them. I would rather it be an animation. Another fandom I love that I'm sad that it's over is Attack on Titan. I literally cried. I still cry, like, even today if I see, like, a certain quote. Because I love that anime so much and have been with it for so many years. Another fandom I love, but I'm not such a fan of the community sometimes because they get really angry about certain sides, is Naruto. Um, yeah, the fandom can be kind of toxic sometimes, but before the internet, I really liked being a part of the Naruto fandom. I was with it ever since I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
I was watching
Before the
Naruto.
internet, a lot of fandoms were better off.
Yeah, for sure. Also, recently I joined the Chainsaw Man fandom. I happen to like a lot of darker animes, ones that have sort of a tragic story or one that has a little bit more depth. So,
Mhm.
Chainsaw Man is definitely a favorite of mine. Demon Slayer is my other one that I really like, mostly because of the animation.
I also just love how Tanjiro, I feel like he has so much depth because you see his journey and how much he's grown and progressed, like as an MC.
And I think I like him so much because they don't overpower him, and he's always working at like where he is right now, and he's not like, oh, I suddenly have the power of friendship, and like I
I
can
love
be
the
really
power of
strong.
friendship.
You love the power of
That is
friendship?
my I'm like, give me more of that. Give me more friendship, actually. Like there's not
Mhm.
enough friendship in
Yeah, more
some
friendship.
things.
I mean, I do love friendship too. Like, I am surprised I didn't say Hunter x Hunter, but it's only because they have so many episodes that are like dead space.
I agree with that. If there was ever a fandom that I was a part of, it's Chainsaw Man.
Mhm.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Chainsaw Man's awesome.
Even
I
though
kind of wish
there's
that they
like no friendship in it. There's
no,
there's
just a little friendship.
yeah, there's like a
A little
little
sprinkle.
friendship.
I also like Tokyo Revengers, but I didn't say it because I hated how it ended. So
I just didn't read the ending.
We're
I just did not read the
not
ending.
gonna talk about it.
I kind of wish that I just stopped reading, but I didn't read the last chapter.
We're not gonna we're not gonna talk about
Over for me, actually.
it. I too really love Tokyo Revengers, but Ken, when I see you, Ken,
I
when I
miss,
see
I
you.
miss the Tokyo Revengers era though. Like I miss who
Yeah.
we were as a people when Tokyo Revengers
Yeah,
Oh,
was
it
like
was
at its
so
peak.
good. Oh,
Like
it was so good.
I miss like the world. Like I
hmm
miss what the world was like back then.
hmm
We didn't appreciate it enough at its time.
I almost wish that I didn't read it, and I just like experienced the first season, and then I'm like, wow, that was great.
It's crazy because the arc they're at right now is like the arc where you meet like Izana and Kaku. And like I love that arc. Now I'm like, okay, we can just end. We don't have to animate anything else. We can be done.
Now that we've had a little fandom talk, let's get back to you. What is your absolute dream project as an artist? You've already created your own coloring book. Do you see yourself getting into more print projects like comics or webtoons or anything of the sort?
My dream project actually, I guess, is a little bit kind of like my favorite fandom, Zelda. I'd love to create a story that could eventually become a game. It was
Ooh.
first a comic, and then it developed into a game. So I'd love to create a world that was really like dynamic and had a lot of characters, and then eventually one day it could be developed into something bigger. I'd love to have an anime, of course. I feel like that's every artist's dream.
Yeah.
But for me, I think a game is more like it pulls at my heartstrings a little bit more, and I want to achieve that a bit more than having like a show.
Just how integrated you are in this space, it seems like something that you could definitely pursue and collaborate with other really great people, creating something and then partnering with, like, I don't know, like an indie.
If not the game in that big world, I'd love to just create like a short story, like Howl's Moving Castle, where it's really short and then people still are really impacted.
Oh.
Yeah, I love all the Ghibli movies, but Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away are my favorite. I
We could
almost brought
tell.
my Howl's Moving Castle mug. I mean, if you want to see it, I can bring it. I appreciate it.
She's like, I just need you to see.
She's like, let me show you this. Vegalia is for the girls though, you know, House Moving Castle.
Mhm.
2 hours later.
I too want to be in love. I remember that.
We're
Oh my
definitely
god.
on the same internet. You just like
We get each other. We see each other.
you have the thing that I wish I could have, but I'm too busy buying Chainsaw Man stuff.
Vegalia, we've talked a lot about diversity, especially with the way that you've kind of helped pivot the art community with your brushes. What are your thoughts about diversity within the fandom space? Do you feel that By Vegalia as a brand has helped make a positive impact in connecting more POC artists, creators, and even cosplayers?
I think that my brand has definitely helped the space, especially in the Black community space for making characters that have hair types like them. And now, even expanding beyond that, we have like Hispanic, we have Asian characters, we have white characters that you can create with our brushes. My brand really tries to integrate a lot of the anime community within our art. So sometimes we'll highlight different characters that people really like and show them with our brushes, or show how to do different hairstyles with our brushes. Or like some of the ones that specifically people really liked, but they didn't know how to do some of their hair textures well, were like the Encanto cast. I know it's an anime, but Encanto had a lot of different curl types. So we showed the different ways you could create them. Or Spider-Man with Miles Morales. People really wanted to draw characters like Hobie and Miles and different characters that had textured hair. And we were able to create collections that people could use and make their art easier.
Yeah, and I also think your brushes also have, especially in the cosplayer space, it's inspired. I think nowadays we see more, especially Black cosplayers, using protective hairstyles, right? As well as just seeing more artists. I know there's one artist during Blacktober, she turns Pokemon
I know her.
into Black characters. And I just know, I'm like, that's what colors, right? I'm like, those are
I don't know her
I know
username,
this
but I don't know her username by heart, but I know her.
name. And I think and she's so talented. And even me, like I saw one of her pieces last year, and when we did Pokemon karaoke, I did her Gengar look. I was like, that's so amazing. And so I had my braids. And so I think it's definitely, you've been able to create an opportunity for especially Black bodies in the creative space to be more outgoing, as well as kind of push the narrative. Like, you don't have to use cosplay wigs. Like, you can use your natural hair, you can use your protective styles,
Mhm.
you can use those textured wigs. And so
Mhm.
you're an innovator. You basically have created a movement essentially.
I mean, I don't think it should be hard to represent so many different people, and I just wanted to create an easier way to do that, a simpler way to do it. And yeah, it's been really cool to see all the people create different
Yeah.
ways of showing diversity, especially like even beyond the Black space. But that's still my core, of course, is representing Black people wherever I can, with whatever I do. And it's been cool to expand upon that and represent even more people. So if you see our page now, you'll see a lot of representation of all different kinds of people, and we're really trying to push that, all identities and representations on our page, so everyone feels really invited.
Yeah.
And
Does it ever just hit you sometimes that this, essentially this thing that you made to fulfill a need for yourself, has had such a ripple effect
mm-hmm.
throughout just the entire like digital space in general? Does it ever just hit you like, wow, that was literally you?
I feel like a lot of people have imposter syndrome, but sometimes it doesn't fully hit me that I created it. Sometimes I look at my brushes and I'm like, I don't even remember making that. But it's really cool that I've impacted so many people from something that impacted me. And I really like that it was organic and it wasn't something that I forced on anyone or myself. It was something that I fulfilled a need for myself, like you said, and it's impacted so many other people. And I'm really grateful for all the people that are thankful for all the representation I'm bringing, and I only hope to bring even more in the future. And yeah, things like my coloring book, where I collaborated with so many different people, that's a really special project for me to be able to have kids grow up and not feel like they weren't represented. So I want to always have projects in the works where people really do feel like they are represented fully, and there is a project for them, and they weren't an afterthought, they were the forethought of the project.
And as we know in media, representation does matter. We've all seen it.
We've been gushing a lot about what you've created and stuff like that. We do want to get to know you just a little bit more. Are there any other interests or hobbies or just like things that you have dabbled in other than like your art and your traveling?
I really like cooking. I don't know if that's relevant. I love trying.
It is.
Yeah, I'm a huge foodie to the point where like I'll seek out like really nice restaurants or really unique restaurants, or I'll try the TikTok place and wait in the 2 hour line. Like, I'm that type of person.
Yeah.
I love trying new foods that are unique to certain cultures that I have never tried before. That's one thing, and I love cooking the foods afterwards because my dad was a huge chef growing up. He still is, and that's really impacted me and my love of food as well. I'm really obsessed with this mobile game called Merge Mayor, and I don't recommend anyone play it because I spent way too much money on it. And you don't even have to spend money on it. I just do because I want
Yeah,
the game to go faster.
right. No, I feel that. Oh my gosh, have you played that one game that everybody's playing or was playing on
The
TikTok
flashy one?
Live, that Suika game? It's like when you like drop the fruits and then the
Uh-huh.
fruits merge.
Oh, I've seen I almost downloaded it, but I'm like, I can't. I've already done
No,
Merge
it's so good. It's
Mayor. Do you
so
have to pay
good. $3 on the Nintendo shop. But you don't have to like pay anything else after that. It's just like a relaxing little puzzle game.
Our gaming footage had technical difficulties. Here is a montage of our Gardic phone drawings.
So now we're at the part of our show where we do something we like to call Real Taku. We sit down with our guest and we just have a real conversation about things that are relevant to them and so forth. So your brand by Vegalia is something that has become very well known in the digital space. Not only are you an artist, but you're also an entrepreneur. How do you balance your love for creating art and growing your brand as a source of income?
Well, I've been an entrepreneur as long as I've been an artist. So I started when I was literally 5 years old selling painted rocks. And then I'd sell painted aprons. I did balloon animals, then glass jewelry. And eventually, after college, I ended up at By Vegalia. So it's been a long process of being an entrepreneur my whole life. And my parents really instilling in me that entrepreneurship is a really good path if you want to be your own boss and you want to make creativity a part of your life and be able to make money from it. Entrepreneurship is something that's really risky as well. It's something where you have to rely a lot on yourself and what you can do. But for me, I always knew that something could come out of it. It's been kind of hard sometimes because as an entrepreneur, you're by yourself a lot. So you really have to rely on yourself
Mhm.
and your own will because if you're not pushing yourself, no one else is going to push yourself. So I really had to really love what I'm doing, which I do. I love being an artist and I love being able to give so many different products, like I said, to the world. But yeah, sometimes it is really lonely. Sometimes it does make me think that having a 9 to 5 would be easier because it definitely would be. But I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. I think that entrepreneurship is something so ingrained in me that even though I feel like I'm an entrepreneur more than I'm an artist these days, since I do like building brands, it is something that I have like come to like and enjoy doing. I do think that if you are making art your job, this isn't always the case, but for me, sometimes it dims your passion for it a little bit. For me, that
Right.
happened with photography where I lost my passion completely when it used to be my favorite thing in the world. And I hope it doesn't happen for me with digital art. So I've been taking breaks and doing other things. Like right now, I'm doing a travel series, things like traditional art that's not in my realm to try and spark my interest for art in the future so I don't get burnt out and never want to do it again, because that's
Yeah.
definitely a possibility.
Right.
And I see that happening with a lot of my mutuals and friends where they just don't create anymore, especially in the social media space. It can be really hard if you're relying on an algorithm to push your art. I think if you just know that this is your passion and that's something that you could see yourself doing every day, to pursue it. And that's thankfully what I'm doing right now.
I like how you mentioned diversifying your creative output and creating different kinds of
Mhm.
things. I kind of gave up a little. I wouldn't say like gave up a little bit, but took a really, really long break from creating content for myself and
Mhm.
cosplaying. Like, if anything, I maybe post like once a month these days. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until I started creating Girltaku with Lo that I really kind of refound my passion for creating stuff, like even creating the Girltaku brand and like thinking of a different way that I can create content and connect with people that isn't so centered on like myself and doing TikTok trends, because I got crazy burnt out doing that, like to the point where I didn't even enjoy it and I didn't even know if I wanted to continue doing that. So that's also kind of how Girltaku was born, just because I wanted to explore something different. So I think mentioning diversifying, your creative outlets is something that's really important, especially for creative people.
I know it can be really scary to pivot, but I don't think it's something that you should go against if it's something that is burning you out, and do something that is completely different, and your audience might hate it and you might get no views, but if it's something that you're really passionate about and you change to to suit what you want, I think ultimately in the long run it will be more beneficial for you than trying to do something that you're forced to do. You should want to do it.
Well, and I think something like your brand with brushes and stuff, it also puts you on a path of passive residual income, which I think is something that a lot of artists should tap into, that so they're not constantly having to put out stuff and like constantly having to make content and promote their things and like create new products or create new like artworks for people to see. Your brushes are out there. Even if people don't know you, all it takes is like a Google search. If they're looking for something, you're there.
Yeah.
Like you're like the first result
Yeah.
that pops up.
I also think that if you are diversifying yourself more, then it makes you a more interesting person, especially to follow. Because if someone's doing the same thing over and over again, they're never changing, eventually the audience is going to outgrow them and you'll kind of be in that influencer space where you kind of get forgotten in like 3 years, I think is the time frame that most influencers last. So if you don't like pivot or do something different, then you'll be the people that aren't talked about anymore, instead of like people like Jackie Aina, who has a huge following and can continue to do what she loves because she was able to pivot so much.
Yeah, I think that's really real to say that. A lot of people don't like to say that or to admit that, but it's real, especially if you want to make this a career. That's why a lot of influencers become entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I think entrepreneurship is probably the best way to sustain yourself, to make something that you're really passionate about that can either be passive or a product that you can keep selling to people that don't know you. So you can keep on doing the stuff that you want to do.
Yeah. You were featured in Allure magazine in an article titled, "Why is it so hard for some animators to illustrate black hair?" It's been a full year since that interview. Do you feel you've accomplished the goals you set for yourself back then? Do you feel like you have any different perspectives on how to keep pushing the industry forward, as you talked about in that article?
I do believe that I have achieved what I did say in that article, to create more diversity in the art space. And I am working on projects behind the scenes with a team of artists that can help that even further beyond just my brushes. I'm excited to hopefully release it next year. If it's not next year, it'll definitely be by 2025. I also think just like the growth of the brush brand itself, before I think it was way less than 100,000 followers. It was probably like 50,000 followers last year. And now we just hit like 100 and I think 30,000 followers on Instagram and almost a quarter of a million on YouTube. That has been insane to see the growth and the community grow even further and really push the movement that it's not hard to draw diverse characters. Even if you don't have my brushes, you can look at my characters that we create on the page as inspiration and use it as references to create your own characters. If you can't afford it, you can look at the brushes and try to create ones that are similar, because I know some people do that too. We really are a community that really wants it to be more accessible for people and it to not be an excuse to not draw it because it's too hard, because it's not hard anymore to draw characters that look exactly like the diverse people that we're trying to represent.
What advice would you just like put out into the world when it comes to pushing for more diversity in like the digital art space or even in animation or the fandom space?
I would say to push yourself out of the comfort zone or the people around you that you know or have known your whole life, to kind of, even if like you're in a rural area, listen to YouTube videos of people that have different thoughts than you have, that have different hair textures. Like than I have, because most of my research for my brushes came from the internet. And just surround yourself with a lot of different references, a lot of different resources, so you're not just stuck in one place and thinking that something is so difficult or hard to do when there's so many resources out there that you can access beyond just my brushes. Like, for example, for me, I don't live in a hugely diverse place. I live in the Midwest. But if I want to see a lot of different people, I just go out and people watch and look at the different people that I can be inspired by and see the differences in their skin tones or their hair textures, and then do like sketches or take quick pictures that I can use in my artwork later as references.
Yeah.
And if you're just keeping like the same mentality of like, there's only like a certain group of people around me, I can't be diverse, then I think that's really silly, because we live in the internet age now, so we have a
Yeah.
lot of resources
Yeah.
to access.
Yeah, definitely.
And even if you can't go outside, Pinterest exists.
Pinterest is so much better too. They have a hair tool where you can just type in a hairstyle, like say updo, and you can click the different textures of that updo inside their application.
Exactly. That's like online people watching if you can't go outside.
I also think the conversation of like pushing for more diversity, especially in the art space, just how it's grown so much. I think it's another opportunity to hold not only just artists, but also in the entertainment industry, people more accountable to allow themselves to think outside the box and be more diverse. Like we've seen it when you're in the creator space, you're seeing creators grow, right? And we're seeing a lot of creators from a diverse standpoint start to get more recognition and more recognition that they deserve. And so I definitely think we're there. You just gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm like trying not to bring in things that are happening in the world, like affirmative action being canceled. A lot of diverse programs are being cut right now. I got a scholarship
Yep.
based off of my race, but also based off of my academics. And that has like the possibility of getting erased. And that was something that really helped me grow as a person and be able to be where I am today. So it's really scary times that we live in right now. Media has so much power. I
Yes,
hope
it
that it
does.
can influence people in a positive way.
This will always be a safe space to talk about anything that's going on in the world, because as women of color, like all those things online and in real
It's
life
important to us.
affect us, and they affect the world around us. It's us and people that look like us or come from similar backgrounds as us. So
Yeah.
I think that that's always really important to talk about.
Vegalia, it's been such a great time. Thank you for coming on the show and talking with us. Before you go, do you have any upcoming projects, any words of wisdoms for those watching right now?
I have a new brush collection coming out, and if you haven't seen Attack on Titan or Chainsaw Man, you should definitely tune into those because they're really good anime.
Then you'll appreciate our drawings more as well.
Yeah, you will, especially the chainsaw ones.
All right. Well, thank you again for being a special guest on our show. And for everyone watching, thank you for tuning in to the Girltaku Show. We will see you next time.